Hello, farm members. Welcome to another edition of Locked In with Kim. I'm joined today by Tim Murphy with CNF Mortgage, one of our great AMPs. So Tim, welcome. Thank you so much for giving me an excuse to wear jewelry and do my makeup. My hair's done. I still have sweatpants on.
Oh my goodness.
No shirt. It feels good to be half dressed. So how are you guys managing during all this craziness?
And that is just it. It is super crazy. We're down to a skeleton staff, but we're still coming in. We're still jamming. I mean, technology has just opened the door. And I think we're going to see massive changes. If you think about it, in the next few years, we're never going to do business the way we did it in the past. It's just going to be wild. It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, hey, that's a great segue into the top thing I want to chat with you about is what are those three most important tips you have for agents when dealing with financing during this upheaval in the market?
So really, let's start with, right there. Communication is really the key. You're talking about technology and you're right on the money. We're doing a lot of Zoom meetings. We're doing a lot of bomb meetings, just communication with our clients. One of the key issues right now is people still having jobs or their pay getting cut back or they're non-essential. Unfortunately, we've had clients who are actually at work, but their employment won't give us a verification of employment. They won't confirm that they're at their jobs, or if they are, it's taking multiple days. So if I would stress anything at all, it's staying in communication with your clients, staying in communication with of course, your lenders, your title companies, everybody involved. And that's the critical piece right now, how technology has allowed us to stay in line. But that's key, number one. Number two, quite frankly, one of the things I tell all of my clients is don't get distracted. We're so focused on the virus and I turn off my phone to all news. I turn my TV off. I have no news effective 8 o'clock in the morning till I get back home at about 7 o'clock at night. So I'm not distracted at all. In fact, I'm working on my plans. I'm trying to figure out where am I going to be in the next, 6 months when this thing does explode. Because when this closes, what typically happens, and having done this for 35 years, we get into a huge boom. So we'll go through this, we'll ride this unfortunate situation through, and then all of a sudden people will feel like they're locked in, like a lot of folks are, and they're going to want to buy. And they're going to be this, it's going to be a crazy rush. It really is. So whether it's listings on the one side or buyers on the other, you want to prep everybody now. Like prep the credit scores, get the houses ready. Let people spend that time, working to prepare themselves, because when this boom occurs, it's going to be amazing. It really is. So a lot of growth. Now, one of the drawbacks is guidelines.
Okay.
I think we need to stress that. We're seeing a huge rush, and people don't understand the mortgage world. We see the feds keep cutting the interest rates down. They're saying rates are so low, but what's happening is that there are very few buyers for mortgage-backed securities, which means that the folks that are offering the mortgages now are going to tighten up guidelines. So we've watched how credit scores have gone from a government loan, like an FHA loan, from a 580. We know of some lenders now that are requiring a 680 credit score, which is just massive. That's a huge change. Right. So as a realtor, what would I want to do? And once you get a contract, make sure that loan is locked in immediately. Because once it's locked in, you've locked into the rate and you've locked into the guidelines that day. So let's say you're doing a loan and you've got a 640 score, and we still do those all the time, but you've got somebody who's a 640 and now, that they're concerned, lock that loan in at that 640 score. Now if we can get the rate better, we can always get we get the score better, that is, we can always get the rate better. But if you can lock them in now, you're locking in not only to the rate, but also into the guidelines and into that FICO score of that day. And that's critical. As a real estate agent, I want to know, is the loan locked in? How long is it locked in for? And does it meet all of the guidelines? Now, don't forget your VHDA program, your Virginia Housing Department Authority program. That program still does 620s. That is your fallback. So if we don't have an option, keep that in mind in the back of your head. Hey, a 620, I can still do with a VHDA product as an alternative. But watch your guidelines, watch your interest rates, get loans locked in. And the last thing I want you to recommend is make sure your lender is running it through some type of automated underwriting system. Because if the loan's been approved through a system, then you don't have any challenging, you don't have any blocks or hurdles that are going to be difficult to overcome in this day and age.
Okay.
So that's where I would be. I mean, if I was a realtor, I would be excited. To me, it's going to be a wild ride. You just got to hang on, stay focused, stay in communication. This is a great time to call all of your past clients, because guess where they are? They're home.
Exactly.
And you can say,
They're
hey,
doing this, they're watching videos, they're looking at their social media
exactly.
feed.
So this is a great time to do, you ready? A real estate review. Hey, I want to let you know your value is X and things are really turning out well. You know, a lot of people are considering refinancing. You did an FHA loan 3 years ago. You should call your lender, think about refinancing, or, you know, an equity line might be possible now that you have the equity in place. You know,
Right.
just, you know, that review or that anniversary call can be critical because it can open the door for future business as well.
So how long do you think these more stringent guidelines will be with us? Are we looking at very short term, or is it going to be this time next year and we're still going to be talking about this sea change and how we're looking at mortgages?
So the answer is it's going to be about 12 months.
Okay.
The reason for that is because mortgage-backed securities are sold in bundles, and it takes time to filter through the system. And we're not going to return to that normalcy until about spring of next year. So
Okay.
right now, the prediction right now is just this tightening up. You're going to have 1 year performance. They want to see how people do as far as making their payments. They want to see the default rates. And
Right.
after we go through that period of time, then they'll do a reevaluation and begin to lower them down. Now you're going to laugh. You ready? Rates and guidelines will come down, supply and demand. So there's not a lot of demand for financing.
Right.
They got to keep people employed, right? And that's the key.
Okay. So how are you seeing March? I know this happened about what, halfway through the month. From what I'm hearing from agents, March stayed pretty busy. How about on your end from loan originations? Were you still seeing that business through March, and what's going to happen in April? And then I'm even scared to ask about May.
Okay, so that's a great question. So March was a phenomenal month, but remember, from the lending side, we're doing purchases and refinances, of course.
Right.
So we're seeing a balance there from that standpoint. April, honestly, I have never had so many purchases going on right now. It's crazy because people are looking at multiple contracts, multiple offers. So we're extremely busy, and it's fun to watch. Agents are using technology where they're actually filming the house. They're doing the
Yeah.
virtual tour, which is exciting. Everything is online, all the documentation. I have clients I've only met on Zoom. You know, it's kind of wild. So we're doing a lot of technology. Now, I do know some of the more creative agents have had open houses. And what they've actually done, which I thought was fascinating, they've actually offered the open house on a Saturday from 9 to 3. They've opened all of the doors, all the windows, all the lights. Everything is turned on. They've got wipes in the front. They've got gloves for people to walk in. And literally, the agent is outside, and they sit outside, and the client will go through the house. They make all the tours. They tell them, don't touch anything, don't turn anything on, use the gloves. And that's how they've been having the open houses. And the inventory is so small right now that houses are still flying off the shelf. It's wild. It really is. So be honest with you, great rates right now. There's still down payment assistance programs. There's still grant money out there. And you know, that combination, it's a great time to buy
Right.
or sell.
Do you think that forbearance is going to have a big impact going forward? We don't know yet, right? Most people haven't missed a paycheck yet, but we're starting to see that leading edge of layoffs and companies that are shutting down. How is forbearance going to impact the market?
So that's a great question. So three things in mind. With the government's rules, as long as the government passes a rule that says, hey, this is what's permitted, then it won't be held against the client as far as their credit. That's my biggest concern is what's going to happen. I'm telling all my clients, try to make the minimum payments on their credit cards, try to maintain within that 30-day period of time to make their payments. But if they go into a forbearance situation, it depends upon how it's reported. If it's reported as part of the government program, typically from a lending standpoint, we want to see them make 12 payments on time before they can make another purchase. From that standpoint, if it's reported as a delinquency, unfortunately, it's going to have a significant impact on the client and their buying power for quite a while because it'll impact the scores dramatically.
Okay. All right. Well, Tim, thank you so much for your time today. Our message, right? The message out to our members is CNF is open for business. It
Oh
might be
yeah.
business a little differently, but you are originating loans. Y'all are working towards closing. So everybody knows where to find you guys.